Have you ever been called a good person? The one who always says yes? The one who sacrifices their own comfort so others can feel safe? The one who never complains, never argues, never puts themselves first? It sounds noble, doesn't it? Being the reliable one, the kind one, the helper, the peacekeeper. Society applauds you, people admire you. Friends say, "You're so nice, you're always there for me." But here's the part no one talks about. Being the good person comes with a hidden cost, because behind that constant smile, behind the polite nods, behind the endless giving, lies a silent exhaustion, an invisible weight that no one sees. You spend so much energy making sure everyone else is okay that you forget to ask yourself, "Am I okay?" And that's where the tragedy lies. The world sees your goodness, but it never sees your emptiness. So let me ask you, have you ever felt tired of always being the good one? Have you ever swallowed your feelings just to avoid disappointing someone? Have you ever said yes when every part of you was screaming no? If you have, then this video is for you. Because today we're going to peel back the mask. We're going to talk about the psychology, the philosophy, and the painful truth of what it costs to always be the good person. And by the end, you'll see why being good isn't always good for you. Imagine a young woman. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah is the nice one in her family. She's the one her parents lean on, the one her siblings call when they're in trouble, the one who shows up, listens, helps, sacrifices. At work, she's the dependable colleague. In friendships, she's the shoulder to cry on. But here's the problem. Sarah has trained herself to never say no. She's terrified of letting people down, and because of this, she slowly becomes a stranger to herself. Her dreams. She puts them aside because someone else needs her. Her boundaries? She lets people cross them because that's what good people do. Her emotions? She swallows them because she doesn't want to upset anyone. Does Sarah sound familiar? Maybe she sounds like you. The truth is, being the good person often means carrying a weight no one else notices. You smile when you're tired. You agree when you want to refuse. You keep quiet when something hurts. And every time you do, you chip away at your own identity. Psychologists call this self-abandonment. It's when you betray your own needs just to keep others comfortable. And on the surface, it looks like kindness, but inside it feels like slow suffocation. Here's the paradox. The world loves you for being good. They admire your patience, your generosity, your sacrifice. But the more they take, the less of you is left. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How many times have you replayed conversations in your head, wishing you had spoken your truth? How many times have you walked away from an encounter smiling, but inside you felt empty, unheard, unseen? This is the silent weight of niceness. It's heavy, but it doesn't make a sound. And the saddest part? Most good people don't even realize how much they're losing until one day they wake up and feel hollow. But why does this happen? Why do we force ourselves into the role of the good person even when it hurts us? To answer that, we need to dig deeper into the hidden fears and beliefs that make us choose goodness over authenticity. At the heart of always being the good person lies something most of us don't want to admit. Fear. Not fear of danger, not fear of failure, but the fear of disappointing others. The fear of being rejected. Think back to your childhood. Do you remember the first time someone praised you for being good? Maybe it was when you shared your toy, when you helped your teacher, when you didn't cry even though you wanted to. You were rewarded with approval, smiles, hugs, kind words. That approval felt warm, it felt safe. Now do you remember the opposite? The times you said no, the times you expressed anger, the times you wanted something for yourself. What happened then? Maybe people frowned. Maybe they scolded you. Maybe they pulled away. And so, without realizing it, you learned a dangerous lesson. I am loved when I am good. I am rejected when I am myself. This is the seed of people-pleasing. This is the root of why so many of us bury our true feelings under layers of politeness. Because deep down, we don't fear conflict itself. We fear what conflict means. We fear that if we upset someone, they'll leave us. We fear that if we stop being good, we'll stop being loved. Let's be honest. Have you ever stayed silent in a conversation just so you wouldn't rock the boat? Have you ever agreed with someone's opinion even though inside you disagreed? Have you ever sacrificed your own needs just so others wouldn't think badly of you? That's not kindness. That's fear dressed as kindness. Philosophers like Nietzsche believed that the greatest tragedy is when a person lives not as themselves, but as a reflection of what others want them to be. And yet, this is what the good person often becomes: a mirror that reflects everyone else's needs but never their own. Here's the irony. People admire you for being agreeable, dependable, easygoing, but they never see the cost. They don't know that every yes is a betrayal of your truth. They don't know that every smile is a mask covering fear. And let's face it, fear doesn't just disappear. The more you feed it, the stronger it grows. The more you avoid conflict, the scarier it feels. The more you say yes, the harder it becomes to ever say no. Until one day you wake up and realize you're trapped, not by others but by your own fear of disappointing them. This is why many good people secretly feel resentful. They give and give, but deep down, they wish someone would notice their sacrifice. They wish someone would say, "It's okay, you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't always have to be perfect." But the world rarely says that. Why? Because the world has grown comfortable with your goodness. People will always take as much as you give, and if you never set boundaries, they will assume you don't need them. And so the cycle continues. You keep being good to avoid rejection, but the more you abandon yourself, the lonelier you feel. Let me ask you this. What is scarier, disappointing others or disappointing yourself? What is more painful, facing conflict or living a life where your voice is never heard? These are the questions that good people avoid. But they are also the questions that hold the key to freedom. Because once you understand that love and acceptance built on silence and sacrifice are not real, you begin to realize something powerful. You don't owe the world constant goodness. You owe yourself truth. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Behind every smile that says, "I'm fine," there's often a storm no one else can see. People assume good people are calm, patient, endlessly forgiving. And outwardly, they are. They nod when someone interrupts them. They smile when someone takes advantage of their time. They swallow their opinions when the group disagrees. But inside, a fire is quietly burning. Because here's what nobody tells you. The cost of always being good is anger. Silent, unspoken anger. The kind that builds up slowly, drop by drop, sacrifice by sacrifice, until it overflows. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "It's okay, I don't mind," when in reality you did mind? How many times have you said yes when your whole body screamed no? Every time you do this, you push your own feelings deeper underground. And the deeper they go, the heavier they become. Until one day, even the smallest thing, a careless word, a minor rejection, triggers an explosion you can't control. That's why many people who are too good shock others when they finally snap. Friends say, "I never expected that from them. They're always so calm." But that outburst isn't sudden. It's the result of years of unspoken anger finally breaking through. Psychologists call this repressed resentment. It's the shadow side of kindness, and it can be destructive not just to relationships but to your health. Studies show that suppressed anger doesn't disappear, it lingers in the body, showing up as stress, fatigue, even illness. But let's go deeper. Why does this anger hurt so much? Because it's not just about other people crossing your boundaries, it's about you abandoning yourself. Every yes you didn't mean, every smile that hid your pain, every silence when you wanted to speak, all of it sends a message to yourself. My feelings don't matter, my truth doesn't matter. And that is where the real wound begins. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a person who spends their whole life being dependable, always available for friends, always kind to strangers, always supportive of family. On the surface, they're admired. But late at night, when they're alone, they feel an ache in their chest. Not because others failed them, but because they failed themselves. They realize they've lived their life for everyone else, but never for their own soul. Does that sound familiar? Here's the thing. Anger isn't bad. It's not something to fear. Anger is information. It's your inner voice saying something is wrong, something is unfair, something needs to change. But when you're the good person, you're taught to silence that voice. You tell yourself anger makes you selfish. You tell yourself conflict makes you unlovable. So you hide it. You bury it. And in doing so, you don't just lose your voice, you lose yourself. Philosophers often said that authenticity requires courage. Courage to stand in your truth, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Courage to let go of the mask and show the raw, unpolished version of yourself. But courage is impossible if you don't allow yourself to feel. If you numb your anger, you also numb your passion. If you silence your resentment, you also silence your joy. So here's the paradox. By trying to be endlessly good, you don't become happier, you become emptier. That's why so many good people secretly feel disconnected. They smile in the crowd but feel alone in their hearts. Because deep down they know, no one really sees them. People only see the version they've carefully created. The agreeable one, the forgiving one, the one who never complains. But you know what? That's not the whole you, and it never will be. So maybe the real question isn't, how can I keep being good? Maybe the question is, what am I sacrificing when I hide my anger? What parts of me am I losing? Because until you face that truth, the smile you wear will always feel heavy. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I don't even know who I am anymore? That's what happens when you spend your whole life trying to be good. Slowly, almost without noticing, you begin to disappear. At first, it feels harmless. You let your friend choose the restaurant because you don't want to seem difficult. You take on the extra work at your job because you don't want to disappoint your boss. You stay quiet when your family makes decisions that affect you because you don't want to cause trouble. But here's the danger. When these little sacrifices pile up, they don't just erase your preferences, they erase you. Every time you silence your opinion, you chip away at your identity. Every time you put someone else's comfort above your own, you blur the lines of where you end and others begin. Until one day, you're left wondering, who am I outside of what others want me to be? Psychologists call this self-abandonment. It's the act of turning your back on your own needs, your own dreams, your own voice. And it's one of the deepest wounds a person can carry, because the world may still see you, but inside you feel invisible. Think about it. How many times have you smiled when you wanted to cry? How many times have you said, I don't mind, when you did? How many times have you agreed, not because you believed, but because you were afraid of standing alone? Each of those moments feels small, but they're not. They are threads being pulled from the fabric of who you are, and eventually, the fabric unravels. Philosophers like Kierkegaard warned about this. He said the greatest despair is not the suffering of life. It is living in a way that is not true to yourself. Because when you live only for others, you don't actually live at all. You exist, but as a shadow. And here's the heartbreaking part. People may admire you for your kindness, your patience, your dependability, but do they know you? Do they know your secret dreams, your unspoken fears, your real thoughts? Or do they only know? Do they know your secret dreams, your unspoken fears, your real thoughts? Or do they only know the carefully curated version you've allowed them to see? Sometimes being the good person means being invisible. Not because people are cruel, but because you've trained them to overlook your truth. You've told them over and over in silent ways, don't worry about me, I'll be fine. But here's the question. Are you really fine? Let me tell you a story. Imagine a painter who spends years creating masterpieces but never signs their name. The world admires the paintings, but nobody knows who the artist is. Over time, the painter begins to feel like they don't exist, as if their whole life is just a background to someone else's story. That's what it feels like to be the good person. You give, you support, you sacrifice, but your essence, your signature, fades away. And here's the dangerous irony. The more invisible you feel, the more you double down on being good. You think, If I keep giving, maybe someone will finally see me. If I keep being nice, maybe someone will finally value me. But in reality, the opposite happens. The more you erase yourself, the harder it becomes for others to see the real you. This is why so many good people secretly feel lonely, even when surrounded by others. Because deep down, they know the world doesn't love them. The world loves the role they're playing, and roles can't fill the emptiness of a soul that longs to be real. So here's the truth you need to hear. You cannot keep sacrificing your identity at the altar of goodness, because in the end, what the world truly needs is not another good person. The world needs you, the raw, unpolished, authentic you. And the moment you start reclaiming that self, even if it makes you less good in the eyes of others, that's the moment you start truly living. So here we are. We've talked about the invisible wounds, the exhaustion, the loneliness, and the quiet disappearance that comes with always being the good person. But the real question now is, what do you do about it? How do you step out of this invisible cage without feeling like you're betraying the very identity you've built your life around? The first step is this: redefine what it means to be good. For too long, you've been taught that goodness means silence, sacrifice, and pleasing others at the expense of yourself. But true goodness, real, lasting goodness, begins with honesty. Honesty with yourself and honesty with the people in your life. Imagine this. Someone asks you for help, but you're already overwhelmed. The old version of you says yes automatically, while your heart quietly screams no. But the new version, the one you're building, pauses, breathes, and says, "I'm sorry, I can't this time." That moment may feel terrifying, it may feel selfish, but it's not. It's integrity. Because a yes that comes from guilt or exhaustion is not kindness, it's self-betrayal. And the world doesn't need more self-betrayal. It needs people who can give with joy, not resentment. Here's the truth. Every no you speak to others is also a yes to yourself, a yes to your energy, a yes to your dreams, a yes to your mental health. And when you start honoring those yeses, something incredible happens. People don't love you less. They start loving you differently. They start respecting you because you've shown them how to respect you. This doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It means you start caring for yourself too. Think of it like this. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you keep draining yourself dry, what you give others isn't love, it's fragments. But when your cup is full, when you are whole, then your love becomes deeper, richer, and far more powerful. Let's get even more personal. Ask yourself, who am I outside of the role of the good person? What do I really want? What do I believe? What do I dream about when nobody else is watching? Those questions might scare you because they peel back the mask, but that's the path back to yourself. Because the goal isn't to stop being good, it's to stop being good at your own expense. Philosophers remind us that authenticity is the highest form of morality. Nietzsche spoke about the courage to live your truth, even if the world misunderstands you. And psychology teaches us that boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They're doors that allow healthier relationships in. So maybe being good doesn't mean never saying no. Maybe it means showing up as the most real version of yourself. Maybe it means giving not from obligation, but from abundance. Maybe it means loving yourself enough to believe that your needs matter too. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. People might resist, they might say you've changed. But what they really mean is that you're no longer letting them write your story. And that's not cruelty, that's courage. Let me leave you with this thought. You don't owe the world a version of yourself that's half alive. The world doesn't need another mask. It needs your truth, your messy, imperfect, authentic truth. Because when you stop trying to be endlessly good, you finally start being real. And in that realness, in that raw, unapologetic presence, you discover something you've been missing all along. Freedom. The freedom to be seen. The freedom to be loved as you are, not as you pretend to be. The freedom to live, not just exist. So the next time you feel the urge to say yes, just to please someone else, pause, remember this moment, and ask yourself, am I choosing goodness or am I abandoning myself again? Because the greatest act of goodness you can ever offer the world is to no longer disappear inside of it.